Hello, classic movie fans, and welcome back to A Thousand Movies Before You Die with myself, Hoblerone. That's Toby. Today we're going to do a Charlton Heston, not classic. Um, I wouldn't even say it's one of his better ones. It is called Marabunto, Marabunta. It's not called either of those two. It is called Naked Jungle. Marabunta is the name of the ants that attack. That's not a spoiler because that's all over the cover. In fact, I thought the name of the movie was Marabunta. It's not. It's the Naked Jungle. Not a lot of nakedness in the jungle, but you got to put that in there. 1950s. People liked to think there would be nakedness in the jungle. Charlton Heston here is co-starred with Eleanor Parker. Co-starred with, yeah, that is a thing. And is directed by our good friend Byron Haskin. Byron Haskin has directed such greats as Too Late for Tears, The War of the Worlds, okay, I Walk Alone, and Humphrey Bogart's World War II film that I really enjoy, which is Action in the North Atlantic from 1943. But this one is not on par with these. It's a sort of typical 50s action adventure in the jungle film. In this case, it is ants that are doing the attack. Now, the ants don't really show up until about halfway through the film. Up until that point, we're dealing with your typical um, sophisticated woman meets man who's lived, in the wilderness or away from civilization. In this case, I think almost his whole life he's lived there. So Charlton Heston uh, um, plays this guy who basically carved out his plantation out of the jungle. He's down in South America, in the Amazon, where he basically is king of this place, and he gets himself a mail order bride. She's actually a mail order bride, and she comes down. She's played by Eleanor Parker. I keep having to look. Eleanor Parker is not someone I'm that familiar with. She reminds me of Deborah Kerr, actually. Deborah Carr. So, so there's that. Anyway, uh, Charlton Heston and Deborah Kerr in this, yeah, it's just not good enough for Deborah Kerr. Um, Having said all that, I was entertained by it. Um, it was halfway through the film when Marabunta actually shows up, and that's the name of these swarming ants. Um, Up until then, it's kind of an annoying melodrama, which, as I was saying, it's typical sort of, uncivilized man meets civilized woman. It's kind of like that Clark Gable movie that is escaping me right now, like Red Dust and Mogambo. um, Movie like King Solomon's Mines, I think, right? That's all sort of the same thing. This one is like leans right into it with her being an actual mail order bride. Um, uh, Charlton Heston's character is really annoying at the beginning. He's this real pompous, proud, uh, commanding jerk, basically. Par for the it fits into the time. By today's standard, he's definitely an a-hole. I think even by those standards back then, he's an a-hole. So, the movie's obviously his arc, and the backdrop here is these marauding ants. So, yeah, that is the plot. Him and his new wife that he's never met. Yeah, it's actually more about her, right? She's the one who comes down and starts the plot. So, a woman who comes down meets her husband who, mail ordered her. This is her second husband, which, is part of the problem for him, which he knew. So I understand that. So yeah, it's about, figuring out this relationship and at the same time, uh, running around the jungle while ants are attacking swarms. Like these ants are serious. Basically he shows her the damage, and they're up on a hilltop, and it just looks like massive acres of this jungle have been burned down. That's what it looks like. It's all black. It actually looks like it's been burned down, I think. He says, I think at one point says they move 6 miles a day, which sounds insane because it's not, they're not burning it, right? They're apparently eating it. So I don't know how many ants it would take to eat 6 miles of jungle in a day, especially since the mile, the front line, if you will, is miles long. Anyway, so there's no spoilers here. I recommend this. I would call this a level 2 recommendation, not a level 1 recommendation. Maybe another way to put it is this is the 1001st movie you should watch before you die. Yeah, I think that might be a good name for this segment. 1001 movies before you die. So these ones are a little bit outside. If you get hit by a truck and you didn't see this one, your last gasps, you can gasp them freely and cleanly and without regret because you didn't miss a great one. But if you've seen all the greats, this one is worth it. It is a lot of fun. Um, it is, a typical 50s Technicolor. Forgive me if it's actually not Technicolor, but that sort of colored, um, it, cheesy adventure. The problem with this one is, I'm thinking of like 20,000 Leagues and Journey to the Center of the Earth and stuff like that. The problem with this one is it just leans way too much into the love story, and it's much smaller of a story, and it's um, yeah, the actual ant threat is it's it's not as huge as part of the story as I might have wanted. But at the end of the day, it still works. I enjoyed it. I give it as I said, a grain of salt recommendation. Um, it's a good time. If you're a Charlton Heston fan, it's a must. It definitely gets into the 1,000 before you die. I like Charlton Heston. I'm not a huge fan, but yeah, I'd say that it definitely elevates the film. Enjoy this one if you do decide to watch it, and why not? Bye, guys. We'll talk again on 1,000 movies before you die.